Hello, friends. Just a reminder to subscribe. And I will tell you right now, one of the best spooky episodes I have done all season, maybe all time, is on Father Knows Something right now. Justin, my dad, and I sat down and we had some of the most amazing listener write-ins. 11 listener write-ins to be exact. And every story is spooky, crazy, believable, and it's a really good episode. So if you want more spooky after this, head over to Father Knows Something. I will link the episode in the description of the show. Thank you. We're rolling. Ooh.
Yeah, that's what people think when they see us right now.
Hi, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Two Hot Takes. I'm your host, Slug Morgan, but I'm in a slug onesie today. But apparently, I wore this at a live show and no one could tell what I was. Apparently, it's not a slug. Apparently, it's a sea slug.
People thought Pokemon.
Yeah, I didn't get that one. I mean, it's the same colors as the little Charmander. No, Squirtle. Squirtle, right?
Mm.
But I don't know. What do you guys think? Did you see sea slug?
Looks like you got a little mustache on your forehead.
I do? That's his mouth.
No. Below that. Yeah, there's a little stash.
Oh, no.
Maybe that is the mouth.
It probably is the mouth, yeah.
All I got was a little line for a mouth.
Well, enough about me. Justin, what are you wearing?
I think everybody knows.
Well, for our audio listeners, what are you wearing, Justin?
Well, I'm a palm tree.
And what's on your head?
Coconuts.
Oh my God. I love it so much. He was really sad to wear this. But I'm like, we're both THT related items. So it felt right. Especially, Halloween, spooky season. It felt right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's get into this spooky episode. We only have one this year. I'm really jam-packing it full of paranormal, ghosts, let's not meet, and no sleep. Don't know if I'm going to say what subreddit these are coming from. I'm just going to let you and your imagination run wild. If you do want to know at the end, the story links are on the YouTube description, so you could check them out there. But I'm not going to tell you what's real or not real. You're just going to have to see or judge. But yeah, I'm not going to tell you what sub it came from. But I will tell you who the user is.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Let's dive in. This first one is coming from the username Not Ghetto Enough. It's a month old. Again, not telling you guys subs at the beginning. It will be linked in the YouTube description. And comment which ones you think is real, which ones may not be, but they're all spooky. And I will say most are real, if that makes you excited to get into this. Okay, so this first one is titled The Tinder Stalker. I matched with a man on Tinder one day. The conversation got spicy and I gave him my number so we could continue chatting. We texted that night. We never exchanged photos or nudes or anything like that. Never made plans to meet up. The conversation died and I forgot about him. Weeks go by and I deleted the conversation. Then, late one night, I get a lewd photo of a man I don't recognize. I think of insulting them, but decide to just delete it and not respond. A few weeks later, I get another one. I have the idea to check my deleted messages to make sure I don't know them. Sure enough, I find out that it's the Tinder guy. It's really weird of them to text me a month later just lewd images after no contact or anything for over a month. Ew. So I blocked them. A couple of weeks later, I got a lewd video on my Apple Watch. It's the same guy. I'm not sure how I got the message on my watch, if I already blocked his number. I block him again on my watch. What a weirdo, I think. A week later, I leave my apartment to go on a walk. I see him. He is right there in front of my apartment walking towards me. He has the same outfit as his profile photos and same tattoos and hat, so I am certain it is him. I never mentioned where I lived. I'm freaked out. But I'm dressed in baggy clothes and recently changed up my hair color, so I keep my head down in hopes he just doesn't recognize me. I walk right past him. I was too scared to look at him to see a reaction if he actually recognized me. I was too scared to look back in his direction to see where he went, so I just kept walking forward. I was severely freaked out, but nothing else happened after that, and I never saw them again. I never mentioned where I lived, so my only thought is he must have used my phone number to look me up.
Yep.
It was the least likely person I would have expected. Just some random person I messaged for only one day on Tinder. Even the lewd content they sent, I still just thought they were a regular perv. I never expected them to somehow show up at my apartment. They didn't even text a word to me or attempt to meet up. They just sent lewds over 2 months and then appeared. It's just so random and weird. I think their motive was definitely something sexually perverted. It gives me creeps to think about what they wanted, but I'm glad they left me alone. I never give out my real number to dates anymore.
Yeah. I think that is kind of crazy, just the ability to look someone up these days. But I laughed because the fact that they had the same clothes on as their profile photo. I mean, what's the chance? Is that just your favorite outfit?
Maybe that's his only outfit.
I guess you got to kind of think about that when you're making something your profile picture. If it's something you wear a lot, then you maybe not want to make your profile picture because who knows? Just in general, not in this creepy sense. But yeah, I just picture the Get Out scene where the guy is full on sprinting because the whoever the actor is wakes up in the middle of the night and is kind of outside smoking or something. And then they look up and just see like sprinting dead straight. Obviously this wasn't sprinting, but walking. But that's the intensity I feel because all of a sudden out of nowhere, you connect the dots in your head and you're like, holy shit, that's the guy. And they're walking right towards you. It would be hard to think that that's a coincidence.
There's no chance.
Like, unless you're from the same city block in New York. I don't know how I don't know. It's just crazy. And then the fact then to be really smart and think, okay, I'm wearing clothes that make me unidentifiable and I recently changed my hair. So I'm just going to make the call to not react and just walk forward and walk past.
So smart.
Crazy. I wouldn't even have thought of that.
No.
I would have been like,
immediate panic, turn around.
And then that's when bad shit happens.
I just like the ability to not look too.
Oh, the turn around?
Yeah, that can give it away. I literally just watched a TikTok of a girl today and she was like, I got to tell you guys about this. And like, let me know if I'm overreacting. And she got in an elevator, hit her floor number that she lived on, 4. And all of a sudden a guy gets in and he doesn't hit a number. And she could just feel him staring at her, not looking around, just watching her. And so she hesitates when the elevator gets to her floor. And she's like, I don't know what to do. Like, he knows where I live.
You can't go to any other doors.
I already hit 4. Like, I don't know what to do. She can't go to any doors. Like, the hallway is weird, how it's like dead ends. And like, she's trapped. And like, it was really, really scary. And she goes, I watched him get out on my floor and watch what room I went into. And he didn't come down the hall, but like I was terrified. And it's that feeling of like being prey. That is like how people were describing it in the comments. And then they shared their stories. But like, you just know, you get this gut feeling and this sense, and like cross the street if you have to, do whatever you have to, be weird, do whatever. But that feeling of being prey, ooh.
Well, especially when they're like, it's a hallway like that. There is no way out. That's how my apartment was in New York. Most, if any, because some hotels you can get out and walk the full circle if you were trying to just kind of, you know, not just distract or evade. But yeah, mine, you'd take a left or right out of the elevator and that was it.
Oh.
And you're not going to go into anyone else's place.
You can't.
It's different, when you're being followed in a car, you go to the police station, or you can just drive around, or you can pull up to your friend's place. You can, there's more options.
But in your
But this,
apartment, and he knows
no.
what floor she lives on. He knows what apartment is hers.
I mean, that's incredibly invasive. Even back to the story we're on with the passing on the sidewalk, it's still so freaky because then you're narrowed down to a place and you start to think this was targeted. What did she say? She was leaving, or was she just outside?
Walking out of their apartment. Yeah.
Yeah. And the part you pointed out about not looking back.
Because when you start looking back, it gives them a chance to see your face and
oh man,
just a total badass. There's only one comment in regards to this post. It was about 1.5 years ago. I recently moved. But right after it happened, one of the first things I did was install a security camera. I slept with a knife for a couple of weeks and even cut myself on accident. I had problems sleeping for weeks. It was affecting my mental health. I was way over paranoid. But what I learned is don't ever give your phone number or full name to somebody unless you fully trust them. Stalkers can use that info to find your address.
Mm-hmm.
I met someone else who was stalked via phone number, and a man came to his house with a knife. That is such a great point. I never would have thought oh, I'm meeting someone on Tinder after talking to them for a week, blah, 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 blah. I guess I shouldn't give them my phone number. I've never thought about that, but it makes sense. Use WhatsApp, keep just messaging on the app until you really know them, I guess.
I mean, the issue is you can find all of that just off someone's name, really. So it's
crazy.
I think really the moral is you never feel too safe.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be paranoid to the point where it affects your whole life, but never get too comfortable and too safe, because most times you're fine. But if you have your guard up and you do take the precautions, have a security camera. They're, for what they provide, they're not that expensive. And also there's other things like door and window sensors. Even some of the tools you use in hotel rooms that make the door harder to open, or
the wedges
if
with
the door
alarms.
moves, the alarm goes off.
Yeah, those.
It gives you more of a fighting chance to react and do something to prevent whatever.
I know, especially if you live alone. I think you should automatically have those things if you live alone.
Well, and even just for peace of mind when you're not home.
I don't know.
And it doesn't always have to relate to other people, but it can relate to a fire or a flood, or just simply being able to check the cameras around, and for us, look at the horses and make sure the horses are good, or make sure the inside of your house isn't flooding or something's going on. It just feels good to know.
Yeah.
And then if something does happen, especially when you're not there, you can react instead of coming back home to a potential very dangerous situation.
Never can be too safe. I would rather be paranoid and weird than not safe enough.
Yeah, but don't lock yourself in your room and never leave because you're scared of the world. I mean,
Honestly, that sounds kind of nice too.
Well, yeah, but you got to also live life. So you got to find the balance, but definitely protect yourself.
Absolutely.
Because this stuff is real and everyone feels really good until it happens to them or someone they know. And then it's just like, so take steps now.
Yeah. Top comment. This is actually terrifying. There are 7 different types of stalkers. Here is the article that explains them. I'm super wigged out by your story because I recently learned of a woman who was viciously attacked in her apartment by a man she did not know, who, as it turns out, stalked her for several years before he broke in and tried to kill her. Please don't sweep this one under the rug and protect yourself. Have a weapon close by where you sleep, have cameras around your home, be vigilant when out and about, etc. This could be nothing, or it could be a horrible situation waiting to happen.
And that's also the shitty part is you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I've had situations like that before. I've been through them. And when you're sitting there waiting, just wondering because you feel that threat is there.
Yeah.
I mean, it really sucks. It's just horrible.
Alejandra's had a stalker. I mean, Stalking is like very, very serious, very dangerous, and it's oftentimes overlooked. And I clicked on the link to look at the different types of stalkers, and it's from fighterlaw.com. I'm not sure how accurate this resource is, but they do reference that studies have indicated that up to 16% of women and 7% of men are likely to be stalked in their lifetime. That's like almost a quarter. That's an eighth. I don't know what the math is on that, but that's a lot. That is a lot. But there's 7 different types, as that person mentioned: rejected stalker, resentful, intimacy seekers, incompetent suitors, predatory stalkers, aromatic stalkers, and love obsessional stalkers. Crazy. And they'd give a full breakdown. So I will put this on there. Apparently a hitman is also a type of stalker.
Well, yes. I mean, that.
Most dangerous.
I guess that qualifies.
Crazy.
A hitman.
A hitman.
So it's just wild. I know this is sidetracked, but just crazy that, you think all these movies and shows and whatever you watch, oh, hitmen. Yeah, great plot point. Adds to the story.
No, but they're real.
Super real.
They're real.
Oh, what do you do? Well, I get paid to kill people. That's absolutely insane.
It's disgusting.
Insane.
I just saw because I'm starting a true crime thing soon, very soon. And I was just looking at some cases, and there was a woman who actually killed her hitman. He broke in, her husband hired him, and she fought him off and killed him.
How do you get in touch with a hitman?
I don't know. I don't want to know. It's terrifying. Don't look into hitman. Moving along. Okay, this next one. It is titled Haunting or a Witch. I recently just moved out of a house I rented for 6 years and into a house my partner and I just bought with our 2 daughters. Everything has been going great in this new home, and I made a point to sage, cleanse, and protect this house before moving anything into it after the experience in our last home. Everything has been going great, and all of us have expressed having never felt this well-rested since moving a month ago. Now, going back to the previous home. From the start of this old home, things felt pretty off. My youngest, 10 years old, would sleepwalk and do odd things in her sleep, while my oldest, 14, would oversleep but constantly wake up and always be incredibly crabbing. Since moving, she's the complete opposite. Now, as far as I go, at this house, I was struggling hard with very constant sleep paralysis. It always was the same figure, either standing over me or staring at me from my doorway. This figure was a tall woman in black Victorian-style dress, and I was never able to make out her face, as she had a black veil over it, and I was honestly always too scared to look at her face. One time, I woke up unable to move or get words out, just moans as I was trying to wake my partner for help. There was a giant yellow serpent slithering over my body, staring at my feet, and slithered towards my face, and then went between the mattress and headboard to go under the bed. It felt incredibly real, but once getting my boyfriend's attention, he assured me it was just a dream. The weirdest part of all of this to me is that whatever this figure was, it made a point to assure me that these things were not just dreams. Over these 6 years, I had the same exact sleep paralysis event happen 3 times. This Victorian woman would stand over my bed, gently take my hand, and stick my palm with something, leaving 5 small dots on my palm that actually pierced my skin. These marks would stick around for a few days. The craziest part, the last time was coincidentally the very last night we spent in that house. Like I previously stated, my family is doing much better now, but I would love to hear anyone's thoughts on what this could have been, as I can't stop thinking about it since moving.
No, thank you.
Well, guess what?
Huh.
We have pictures of the dots.
Oh, that's crazy. I just keep picturing the snake going right under the bed.
Oh.
No.
You can just feel it too. Like you feel it. It's so...
I don't like the paralysis part. Well, especially when it's a dark energy, because a lot of times you hear people who can't move, but they see something and they always say they feel totally at peace. They don't feel scared. And it's like a good visitation of some sort. And this is not that. But I don't want to have paralysis with something bad.
I don't know. At this current point in time, I'm drawing a blank. I've had a lot of scary dreams. I've had that paranormal experience at the Palm Springs house.
Oh my God.
But I don't think I've ever had a sleep paralysis like this where someone is looming over me. You've had a really scary experience lately. It feels more paranormal than sleep paralysis because it was a one-off. You've never had one since, and you never had one before, right?
Well, we're teeing ourselves up great for tonight.
Knock on wood, buddy. But why don't you tell people about it?
Well, it's starting to fade because I'm trying to push it out of my memory and my mind. But I just remember being in bed, middle of the night, probably the darkest time of night, of course. And I just felt a swipe across lower legs and then back, and then the sensation like I was being pulled down. And then I just remember waking up fully and sitting up and kind of pushing myself back almost to be in this position like I'm in now. And I just sat up in bed like this. And I remember just like a inexplicable fear.
Didn't you see like a shadow figure?
I don't remember. I didn't see a figure in the doorway like that is so present in these stories.
I remember when it first happened the morning after, because you were scared to tell me because you didn't want to scare me in the house because I'm already scared of the dark. This wouldn't go over well with me staying home alone. Okay. And I remember you're like, I don't really want to tell you this, but you said the swipe and the pull down, and then you opened your eyes because you thought it was me. And then
what would you naturally think?
I know.
We don't got a dog or nothing.
No, so you looked over to see if I was awake or if I was there, and I was sound asleep, like nothing had happened. But then you looked towards the bottom of the bed, and there was like a shadowy figure.
Maybe, yeah.
Like crouched or something.
Pushing that out, blacking that out.
So, explain that. Like, that doesn't feel like sleep paralysis. This doesn't really feel
like you moved us into a haunted house.
I know. And this doesn't feel like sleep paralysis. So here is one picture that we have of our writer's hand. Very clearly dots, pressed in dots. And it's in a spot like more towards the pad, like the base of her fingers.
Yeah.
So like I'm sitting here trying to be like,
they're very close together.
Could this be her nails? Like clenching
they're
in
little
sleep.
Pinpoints.
They're tiny pinpoints. So that's the first picture we have, okay? This is another picture. And this is where it gets even weirder. Slightly in a different spot, a little lower on her hand, but like 5 very distinct individual.
Looks like a fork.
It does look like a fork.
So the thing is...
And forks, did you know forks were originally called the devil's pitchfork? Forks were like banned by the church.
Do forks have 4 though? Or are they a 5er? I think they're a 4.
Maybe that's why they call it fork. 4.
No. A fork is like a split. Fork in the road.
Forks usually have 4.
Yeah.
There are some small 5-pronged things, but they're more so serving forks.
Yeah.
And they're way bigger.
Yeah. So
a pitchfork usually has 5.
The thing that's weird.
Devil's got a pitchfork.
Well, the thing that's weird about it is the fact that now we're transcending into reality. At one point, someone could say it's a dream, these experiences, because you're half asleep and whatever. But then when the dream becomes reality, that's really weird. When you have a physical mark from the dream that you remember, that's when shit gets real.
Yeah. I don't know how to explain that. They're tiny. It's the tiniest little mark. I mean, if you're watching on YouTube, it'll be in the YouTube version of the podcast. I will really try to remember to put it on my Instagram post. I will try. But I mean, I don't know what item would make that. Fork, yeah, sure. But like, forks are 4. Maybe she's got a random 5, but to have.
What was she waking up and stabbing her hand?
That's the thing. So I did reach out and message them being like, hey, can I share your story on the pod? And they were like, absolutely. What's your podcast? I was like, 2 Hot Takes. Thank you so much. Oh my God, I love your podcast. If you have any questions, let me know. I feel like I left out so much in my post. And I was like, I mean, the picture with the dots is what's blowing my mind. But if you have any other pictures or tangible stuff, that would be great.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, give me all the details. I want to know more. So that's when they sent me a picture, another picture. So the picture that was in the comments of the post was like one of the later ones. This is the picture from the first one.
Okay.
And then they said, I was embarrassed I didn't connect the dots on what your podcast was based on your name. I was watching clips on TikTok. The dots are insane. My stories made my friends terrified to ever stay the night at my home. And I really couldn't blame them. I know I had pictures of globs of black hair that I used to find in my daughter's room. None of us have black hair, but I can't find them anywhere. A friend, however, just sent me a photo of the first set of dots I ever had on my hand. Same placement. And I was like, the hair? What? You're finding globs of black hair all over your house, but no one in your house has black hair? Nope. So I responded back and I was like, and the sleep paralysis sounds so intense. And people who have that usually have it in multiple times, places, etc. Like Alejandra's had it in LA, but also Minnesota. Like it's more recurring versus like this person moved out of the house.
You don't want them traveling with you.
And it hasn't happened.
Yeah.
And so they responded back, the hair was super disturbing. I had a friend come over and help me cleanse her room after finding the hair multiple times. We went crazy in that room. Sage, crystals, protection bags, salt sigils, and all. The hair did stop, but sleepwalking continued. She never said anything about the woman I was seeing, though, aside from mentioning hearing someone walk outside of her bedroom. I've never personally met anyone that has had any physical things from sleep paralysis either.
Yeah.
Because I did mention, like, usually you don't get physical things. Even like scratches, I feel like are more like less common because people like, you're paralyzed. It's sleep
and they're more
paralysis.
A scratch also, this is so specific.
It doesn't look self-inflicted.
You could do with your nail. Like your dad telling that on the last show I did with him. He's like, I woke up and my nose is bleeding because I just scratched it really hard with my finger.
Crazy.
So like you can scratch yourself, but there's no physical way you can put those 5 little dots in your hand.
No, the size and shape of it is so peculiar. They go on to say, this is a big part of why I posted because I've never had, you've never heard of other physical things happening. I keep having thoughts about the house since moving, but so far we've been in our new house for a month and I haven't had sleep paralysis once. All 4 of us have been sleeping so much better and our youngest hasn't been sleepwalking.
Now imagine this.
What? They just
imagine this.
It's fucking that house.
Not
it's
yet.
in that house.
What if it just takes some time?
Nope. Don't put that into the universe for them.
Okay. All right.
What were you going to say?
I'm just thinking.
If you're listening, writer, don't just skip to the next story.
Just as, a horror film fan, all of a sudden you hear some outside your door, you wake up, daughter's sleepwalking again, find the hair in the next couple weeks, sleep paralysis is back. What do you do?
Exorcism.
What do? You can't
Exorcism.
Move again. You're going to keep moving. It's going to keep happening.
Are Ed and Lorraine Warren still around?
If you started finding hair around, are we moving?
I mean, it'd be hard to tell at our house. We shed a lot.
That's true.
We shed a lot.
That is true. Especially me lately.
I mean, when we first moved in, there were definitely some weird noises, but I think it was just raccoons in the attic.
It was some good old rakins.
So things have been
They're
more
cute.
toned down.
They're cute.
But I haven't had like any sleep paralysis type things like that. And people do, they see the same sleep paralysis demon. So there's conversations of like, how are multiple people seeing this same
That is
sleep
crazy, yeah.
paralysis man, but yet haven't talked to each other, but they can all describe the same person? Is it the Grim Reaper? Is it Hat Man? Who is it?
I think it's crazy when people can connect on one that isn't so popular.
Yeah.
Because that is wild. Because then it's not an image that's already been in your mind.
Yeah.
But I used to have sleep terrors when I was young. So my parents would wake up to me in my room screaming at the top of my lungs.
And maybe you were sensitive.
Imagine if we have a kid with sleep terrors.
I'm going to be scared shitless.
All of a sudden,
we're just going to be
across the house, you hear blood-curdling screams.
No.
And what you have to do as a parent is go out there and see what the fuck's going on.
That's going to be your job.
Because, sleep terrors is probably the best possible outcome.
I guess.
What else would you scream about? Someone or something is in the house. Wouldn't that be fun?
No. So too scary.
Are sleep terrors like a genetic passed down kind of thing?
I sure hope not. Otherwise, we might just have to adopt. Because that sounds terrible.
The way they describe it is top of your lungs screaming.
I'm so scared.
Imagine
of
waking
as
up
it
to
is.
screams.
No, and that's the thing with kids. Kids are more sensitive to energy and spirits. That's what I believe. So I do genuinely believe kids can see things.
What was going on?
That we can't. Maybe you were sensitive and maybe you had a haunted house.
Well, maybe. I don't know.
But moving along, let's get into some of these picture evidence stories that I have. Taking a little break from the heavy hitters and gonna go into some picture evidence. Sir, where's the energy?
I'm just, doing what we do at live shows.
I see.
You're allowed to boo.
You are. Okay, so this is coming from Pyrocenist. This is a photo taken back when film was the only option. It is of my coworker's great-great-grandma. It was taken by her grandfather as the building was burning down. She had been dead for a few years at the time, and the area she can be seen in was the kitchen. You ready for this one?
Okay, what now?
Do you see?
I see her in there, yeah.
You see the person in there?
She better get out. House is burned down.
It's a ghost. That person ain't real.
Just hanging out in the fire, just watching it burn.
Hanging out, I guess. Next image we have, wow, I just got the craziest deja vu. Oh, I've done this before. I've literally been here. I've done this before. Don't you guys hate deja vus? Okay, this next one is coming from Cursed Emoji. A friend of mine sent me this picture from his group of friends in Chile. Looks like a pretty normal picture. Couple friends smiling at a camera.
Yeah, there's a lot of people around.
And then, if you happen to zoom.
Oh, yeah. I thought I saw something there.
That is absolute nightmare fuel. Nightmare fuel.
The video I have for my friend, did you put that on last year's spooky episode?
No.
With the girls in the apartment?
On TikTok. It did go viral on TikTok. So if you describe it.
And then I just happened to know their friend that had the original.
Yes.
What were they doing? The swing, the ring?
Yeah.
Was it the ring?
Yeah. So it was a couple people at an apartment in New York, I believe.
I have it on my phone, actually.
And that feels like bad juju. And they were playing that game where there's a ring on a string and you have to let it swing and it goes on a hook. And as they were doing it, they caught like a ghost girl walking past the room.
Well, it looked and then it just turned and walked down the hallway.
It was so crazy. The doors was locked. No one else lived there. They then started getting paranoid about like someone's living in your walls. Haha. Like Parasite or whatever.
Nobody looks like that though.
It was like literally a Victorian child nightgown. It was so weird. It was so weird. So I didn't like it. I did not like it.
Should we watch it real quick?
No. Okay, this next one is from The One True Bean.
Being?
Bean.
Oh, Bean.
Like Jack and the Beanstalk. It is titled, Came home after work to a handprint on my new mattress. Other strange things in my place recently as well. I live alone.
Memory foam?
Very clearly memory foam, but like brand new mattress. And you know how like when memory foam, like if you push in it and see a handprint,
it goes away.
Usually like the foam though, like you see it go down. There's no down. It's just very clear, visible handprint on the top, stuck there.
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, so, I mean, if I saw that, I would be like, holy shit, someone's been in here.
Yeah.
So how do we know someone hadn't been in there?
So I messaged them and I was like, hey, can I share? And they were like, I just moved in and was talking to a friend about how it feels like someone else is hanging out in there, but like not in a bad way. Then I left my mattress to inflate and came home to that handprint. I've since had a few other wacky things happen up there, and so have a few friends of mine. And I said, oh my God, like what? Like what? And they haven't responded in time.
Oh, shoot, darn tootin'.
This was also like literally 2 hours ago. So.
Darn dang tootin'.
Shoot, toot, scootin', kabootin'. This next one is really interesting. It is a video clip.
We love videos.
Coming from Gabberflasm. So my mom just sent this to me from her security camera. This is just about the best footage I've ever seen. My brother is right there and never heard or saw anyone. No nearby neighbors that would be walking on her property like that either. Brother is in the trunk of the car, rummaging about, doing stuff.
Yeah, that was a weird motion.
And you see like,
how they ducked down all weird. That they didn't duck down like a normal person.
No, not at all. Like almost
floating.
Translucent. Like
look at that,
and then disappears.
Who like bends down like that?
I'm telling you, I don't know.
You know, it'd be crazy if one night you looked out and on the security camera in the backyard, there was an old cowboy just riding Smarty.
Dude. Oh my God,
That'd be kind of cool though. That'd be kind of cool. Like someone's back to fulfill their passion. They just jumped on Smarty and they're just like riding Smarty around the backyard.
I know, but the problem
That'd
is
be
like
awesome.
We do have someone that's died in our house. So I'm like,
we don't know if they're an equestrian.
I know, but the fact that someone has died in our house.
Yeah, but we like them.
I know. I do. If you're listening, I do like you. But it's just one of those things. And she probably did die in our bedroom.
That's fine, but we kept the charm. You know, we're taking care of that place.
Maybe the thing that
we made it real nice.
Pulled you was
she's mad.
Was her. We destroyed the charm of her
Why
house.
is she stuck there then?
I don't know. We need to get some Palo Santo and cleanse.
Do you think, so you know how they say that spirits stick around because they're stuck, like something is keeping them here, some unfinished business, you could say? Then when you go in sage, is it forcing them out and they're still stuck in purgatory? Like I know it helps you here living, but does it force them out and then they still have that unfinished business, or does it somehow like cleanse them of everything and then they can go to the other side?
I'm going to need a very spiritual psychic person to chime in on that one.
We got someone out there, I know.
Oh, we have a bunch of witches that listen. Genuinely.
No, it's a genuine question.
Yeah, so I think we could get some good feedback, but yeah, moving along.
All right.
Okay, so these next couple are coming from listeners from Two Hot Takes. I reached out on Instagram today and I was like, does anyone have any stories with like proof in them? Okay.
Yep.
And we got a couple that are really good. So our first one, ghost spoke to me while I was sleeping. This is coming from Dina. Hi, THT fam. I'm so excited. Been listening to your podcast since day one, and I'm so excited to be writing to you. Okay. On to my ghost story. I'm not a great writer, so I hope you can bear with me. Ha ha ha. I, 31 female, made a big decision to move from California to Utah in 2016. The house my family and I moved into is gorgeous. The views are incredible, and it is such a quiet and friendly neighborhood, which was completely different from what I was used to in the LA area. Slowly but surely, strange things started happening around the house throughout the years. Things would completely disappear for weeks at a time and then reappear somewhere completely random. I would hear someone calling my name and thinking it was my family, so I'd go check, only to find out no one was home. No one in my family experienced anything either. It was just me. Ultimately, I just chalked most of it up to my imagination. However, in 2019, I started to dabble in the world of tarot, astrology readings, and spell work. I had a lot of really good friends out here to show me the do's and don'ts and how to show respect in the craft as to not offend any deities or spirits. As I started to hone my skills, things started to get even weirder. I'd have feelings of constantly being watched, like there was a massive dark energy following me around and hiding in certain corners of my house. I was feeling exhausted all of the time without reason. I was afraid to be in my own home alone. On April 3rd, 2019, my friend joked with me about how bad I snore. And of course, we had a joking debate about how she thinks I snore and how I think I don't. But on this night in particular, I wanted to prove her wrong. So I decided to record myself so that I could play it back the next morning. After all, I didn't want to have to pay her $20 if she was right. Ha 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 ha. The following morning, I listened to the recording and paid my friend the $20. And from there, thought nothing of it. A few weeks later, I showed a different friend the recording and went to a random spot in the recording. 4 hours, 2 minutes, 5 seconds. So we can laugh about how I snore. But there was something else in the recording that I can't explain. We looked at each other in horror, trying desperately to figure out what it could have possibly been. In the recording, you can hear me snoozing away. I smack my gums a few times and resume snoring. And in the background, you can hear a man's voice saying, "That's it," in the creepiest, most perverted way. Had I just been violated by a freaking ghost? I listened to the rest of the 8-hour recording audio and couldn't find any trace of anything else. I don't have a TV in my room, so it couldn't have been that. And I live in the mother-in-law suite of my house, which means all of my family members are on the 3rd floor and my room is in the basement. I had no way of explaining where that voice came from. After that, I did some spell work to cleanse the house of anything that could be lingering around and gave up on spell work altogether. Since then, I haven't felt the dark presence in my house and never recorded myself while I was sleeping ever again, nor do I sleep in complete silence. To this day, I still can't listen to the audio without it sending shivers down my spine. I hope you can listen to the audio and be as creeped out as I was.
Wouldn't you be curious to listen to the entire thing after that, though?
No. I'd
Why?
be petrified.
What if there's more?
She already did. She did the work for us.
Oh, she listened to the whole thing?
All 8 hours.
Oh, okay, good.
Nothing else
I thought
there.
it was just, I found the random moment and that was it.
No.
Oh, wow.
So here is the audio. It's very subtle. Did you hear it? That's it.
Yeah.
It's creepy.
It'd be weird to scroll to that exact moment, too.
Just chance.
So
When
she did listen to the whole thing,
Happenstance?
there was nothing else.
No, nothing else.
I would have to record myself more
see?
nights just to find any other blip. Any blip.
The thing is, though, it doesn't sound like it's her voice or their voice. Like when you sleep talk, it's very clearly your voice. But
Are
if
you
I
sure?
was, swear to God, I have conversations with you. But if I was laying there and you started sleep talking and all of a sudden it was like, "Hi, my name's Justin," I'd be like, "That's not
Would you
fucking
flip
Justin."
out?
Oh, I would.
Or if it's a voice
freak.
that I couldn't
I
even
would freak.
fake. What
Yeah.
if it was all of a sudden just a different language and I was going a million miles an hour
Exorcism.
and my eyes are going all over the
Exorcism.
place?
We would be dragging your ass to a church and finding a priest to exorcism your ass. Exercise
Your ass.
your ass. None of that.
You'd be like, You're done.
You're done. You're done.
Go sleep in the guest room.
So crazy. We have another one from a listener. This is coming from Riley. Okay, so some backstory. I live in Virginia near Jamestown, if you remember it from history class. Anyways, there's this road that is known for being haunted. All the high school kids go there to get a little scared every once in a while. The myth goes, in the early 1800s, a woman fell pregnant, and when the baby was born, her husband didn't believe it was his, and ...
Wow.
The woman could not stand the pain, and...
Okay.
From a bridge, Crawford Bridge. If you park under the bridge at night and fully turn off your car and all lights, you will hear a woman tapping on your window in search for a baby. If you have no baby in the car or you aren't pregnant, you are fine. Babies have gotten sick from this spot for seemingly no reason.
Who's bringing a baby there?
And cars also tend to stall. Anyways, as all teens do, me and my friend did the ritual, heard her, got really scared, and drove away. About 3 minutes later on the same road, my car completely stopped. Confused and a little scared, we got out of the car to fix it and noticed some deer. To ease our minds, we started taking pictures and later looked at them with some lights on and blurs in them. It's in the middle of nowhere. We thought it was odd, but didn't think much of it other than being extra spooked. That was until I was showing my now husband the road a few months ago, and we came across the site where the freaky pictures were taken. It was a battle location from the Civil War.
Just a lot of things coming together in this one.
So much crazy shit.
Just some little deer.
You want to see the picture?
Of course.
You ready? You ready for it? Here is the picture. I mean, you see deer, but you also see like some very weird blurs, and it's a little peculiar.
Can we go to the bridge?
No pictures of the bridge, and I will not be going there.
Well, just to, hear the taps.
Nope. I'm good.
Yeah?
No.
A little road trip.
No.
Yeah.
No. I don't want to subject myself to anything extra spooky. Like even reading these stories. I'm like, what energy am I bringing into my life?
I just came up with a great idea.
Justin's paranormal tours?
Kinda. I want to get a bus. And we'll call it the Two Hot Takes bus.
Okay.
Like a converted school bus.
Yep.
I'm going to go to Virginia.
Somewhere outside of Jamestown, Virginia. Yep.
Okay. I'm coming to Virginia. I'm going to have a Two Hot Takes bus. A select group of whoever would like to join. Let's fill the bus. We're all going to go to this spot. And we're going to hear the taps. Because you know where you'd find a kid is on a school bus. So if we have an old converted school bus, she'll think there's got to be a kid in there. And then we'll all hear the taps. We can all do this together as a group. It's better than going by yourself. Just let me know. Because I'm down.
I won't be riding
I'm
that
down.
bus.
We can go to all the different sites.
I just don't want to get on that bus. Unless someone like sends me, but don't send me a voodoo doll. But if someone sent me like a little protection.
Like a little suit, like in
cloak,
like battle armor.
Yeah, then I'd be maybe open, but likely not.
Let's make this happen.
Last one from our listeners. This is from Kristen. Here is my short story, Morgan, but kind of freaky. In fall of 2020, I was in my junior year of college, and we decided to move into a house closer to our campus. We moved into an old 1950s house that had rumors for weird sounds, creaks, and some weird auras based on my friend who can feel spirits. We moved in, and my window backed up into a heavily wooded and thick area. My windows didn't lock, and I had one in my bathroom that was high up. One day, I was getting ready for class, and in the reflection of my mirror, I noticed handprints that were not always there on my window, that was fairly high up, and it was the one that backed up into the woods. See the video attached. About a month or two later, there was a loud boom in our ceiling, and there were no trees down, no animals, nothing. We ended up calling the police, and they checked our crawl space and said it seemed like someone could be living in our attic. The entrance to the crawl space was below the window that had handprints. Couple of months later, we had a heavy roach infestation. I'm talking killing 30 a week problem.
Damn.
We ended up trying to salt the house, which you can see the picture with our makeshift trap of Bojangles box and salt around all of the entrances. Then a couple of months later, these two girls woke my sister and I up at 3 a.m., banging on our front door, saying to let their goddamn dog out of the yard or they would kick our door down and beat us up.
What?
We obviously didn't let them in, and my Ring camera wasn't recording because I didn't pay their subscription. Bullshit that they have subscriptions. Go Eufy.
Hey.
It's also important to note our yard was not fenced in.
Yeah, okay.
The whole house was weird and just had interesting, scary vibes. I've attached the videos and pictures here, but I lived there for 2 years and a lot of other freaky things happened.
So you think someone was actually living up there?
Uh-huh.
But like a person or a ghost?
Person.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So here is the video.
Don't be living in people's crawl spaces. Come on. What are we doing?
Desperate times call for desperate measures, I guess. So, okay, I'm pressing play. Clearly a hand. Okay.
The laugh.
Your laugh also just scared the shit out of me. But that is very clearly a hand like trying to push up a window. You know when you don't have leverage from outside a window and you want to try to push
on the glass,
it up?
though. I would go like on the, I need some
But if
wood.
it's high, that's probably the only part of the window you could reach.
How are they up there? Oh, wait.
So
So we're not, I thought we were on like second floor, third floor kind of situation.
This sounds like ground level access.
So crawl space is under? I thought crawl space was the attic.
Attic. Some
so
people call
the
them a
crawl
crawl
space is under the window.
Above the window. The entrance to the crawl space was below the window that had handprints.
Right. So we're second floor at least, or even higher.
Crawl space. Huh.
Or is the crawl space under the house?
The crawl space might be the one under the house, and then the attic is the one in the attic.
Yeah.
But if they're living in the crawl space under the house, why touch the window?
Just trying to get in.
And then go up into the attic?
Nah.
So maybe they were living in both?
I just want to take a shower.
Ugh.
I'll tell you what, I do not want to go in our
bad.
crawl space. No. I've looked down there. I do not like it.
No, and when that fucking, I literally thought someone was up in our attic. And so I made Justin look, and I do think it was just raccoons because later on in the week, we saw like a family of 7 climb out of a tree next to our roof.
Well, and the thing on the roof was loose. The cover to
They took one of the vents off the roof.
Yeah.
The animal literally grabbed it and threw it.
Yeah, so they were just chilling up there. It's all right. They're cute.
I don't want them in my roof. It sounded like there were people up there.
Little rakins.
It's too scary for me. Moving along.
Okay.
Okay, this is coming from the user allgyet560. Okay. My friend and I knew he was going to die weeks before his death. I've only told a few people about this. Many years ago, I had a friend named Brian. This was before the internet and cell phones. I knew him for about a year. I didn't know him well, but I was good friends with his sister. He was a great guy. We hung out occasionally with mutual friends. At one point, I kept getting this feeling that Brian was going to die in a car accident. I couldn't shake it, and I kept dismissing it. A couple of weeks later, Brian asked me for a ride across town. On the way, he asked me if I ever had the feeling that I was going to die. Of course, I said no, and I didn't tell him about what I had been thinking. He said that he had a feeling. I told him that's ridiculous and asked him how he thought it was going to happen. He said, a car accident. I was shocked. I went on to say that it's just in his head. No one can predict these things. He's going to be fine. He didn't seem too confident that I was right. As far as I know, he never talked to anyone else about this. He told me that he left a note in his sock drawer for his father. They had a bit of a strained relationship like a lot of teenagers and parents do. They weren't talking at the time. He wanted his father to know that he loved him in case something happened. He wanted his father to know that, even though they didn't get along all the time, he knew his father loved him and was proud of him. The following Saturday, the feeling I had about Brian grew much stronger. I became anxious and couldn't sit still. I was pacing around my apartment. I couldn't think about anything else. That evening, I decided I needed to find him. I called several mutual friends, landline, to see if they knew where he was. Eventually, someone told me he was at a party. I drove there, but missed him by about 30 minutes. They said he went to a different party. I tried the other party, but he wasn't there. I went home and barely slept. The next morning, I got a call from his sister. The driver of the truck was drunk when it crashed. Brian was ejected and the truck crushed him. He was on life support at the hospital. I went to see him, but he was gone. Still alive on life support. There was no brain activity. His parents took him off life support the next day. Months later, his parents found the note that he wrote. His parents cried all day, and his father, who was devastated because of their strained relationship, found some closure and relief. A couple of months after that, they found a message from Brian on their answering machine, telling them that he loves them. They said it wasn't there before. I heard from his sister the message was at least a few minutes long, and he had a lot to say. I've never experienced anything like this before or again. I still think about it occasionally. Sometimes it makes me cry. Sometimes it makes me happy to remember him. Has anyone heard about people experiencing this before?
Have you?
I mean, there are some people that are very connected with energy. We had on our Father Knows spooky episode.
Yeah, I remember that one.
We had a listener write in from a real listener, and she can tell when people die.
Yeah.
Like she gets multiple times it's come true for her. I literally just gave myself the chills. And so there are people out there that just have this sixth sense. I mean, they're connected. The voicemail also weirds me out though, because I can't remember if it was on a Two Hot Takes episode or the Father Knows Something spooky episode we did. But there was a write-in or a story about someone whose grandma had passed away and then called them. And the grandma was on the phone. But at the time, like the grandma was already gone, but left a voicemail. So, I mean, I'm bought in. I'm bought in.
So do you think the future is pre-written? Do you think at the moment the universe began, every event that was forthcoming was predetermined at that moment? Because that, if time works that way, then that would explain how you could predict a future event. Because that's kind of what we're talking about. This isn't necessarily energy happening. This is, okay, in a certain amount of time coming up, this event will happen. Maybe not to the level where you can say the Vikings will win or the lottery is going to be these numbers, but almost just like a partial ability to tap into a pre-written, predetermined future.
I don't know.
Which would be weird because then we'd all feel like we had free will, but all of us are just being little puppets. And we can't, obviously we can't tell, but none of our decisions would actually be ours.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I would like to think we do have some free will and some choice.
Well, everyone would hope so.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think there are some things that are just like meant for us and fate. But I do still think you have some autonomy over your choices.
I'm just saying to call it out as a car crash, not even just the fact that, yeah, I think I'm going to die in the next few weeks.
I think I
think it's going to be a car crash.
Psychic.
I mean, listen.
Psychic. Explain our listener on the Father Knows episode. How did she know? Multiple deaths, multiple people.
Well, I need someone like that around me. And every time I have a hard decision, like, hey, should I go to this thing or should I do this with my night? Oh, you should do that. Okay, perfect, cool. I need someone like looking out for my future self.
It's scary, but
I don't know. That is absolutely wild. And I don't know how I would process that having happened. Because generally when you have someone writing notes, usually they're terminally ill or there's some threat coming after them.
No, he felt it. He really felt it in his bones that he needed to leave that note because something was going to happen. People just don't leave notes.
No, I know.
Out of the blue.
Well, usually they do if it's
terminal. Or
someone's coming after them or something crazy is going on.
Yeah, that too.
And I don't know. I really hope I never tap into that energy.
No.
Because I don't want to know. I don't want to be like, hey, whoever in my life.
I got 3 weeks left.
I have this feeling. That's not cool.
I think that's what's hard about a diagnosis too, when you do get sick. because it's like you get told, like, I think about my mom's, husband.
Yeah.
You have 3 to 5 years and you just sit there with that clock over your head, trying to fight it, holding on. It's like, God, that's just, you're sick. I don't know. I don't know if that would help. I don't know. And then it gives some people a different spin and they are like, I'm going to seize every day. I'm going to bucket list. I'm going to ride a bull. I'm going to skydive.
Yeah.
Everyone handles it so differently, but
Well, for sure. But
it's tough.
But this sense is so different from that.
I know.
Because this is, 3 weeks, right?
know.
Was it 3 weeks?
About
A few weeks?
a few weeks.
And so I feel like now if I ever get that sense, I'm going to go crazy. I'm going to just, buy some crazy shit, go on some crazy trip,
Live in a bubble,
skydive
maybe?
like
You're not gonna
500
try to
times.
change it?
Well, I'll just go 10 times harder.
Mm,
If I got 3 weeks
true.
and it's just off of a feeling, I don't know if I'm just going to be like, all right, off to work.
Yeah. That's tough. We do have some really interesting comments on this one. The top one, I don't really want to get into because it does contain talks of self-harm. And it's a little heavy. So if you do want to read that top comment, it's about a dream this person had and it ended up coming true. But the next top comment, I had a very vivid dream about a guy I worked with. We weren't all that close, so it's strange I had a dream about him. In the dream, he was in a serious motorcycle accident and was brought to the level 1 trauma center I worked at as a surgical nurse. That part is real. He didn't make it. The dream was so real, I honestly thought it was real. I was surprised to wake up from it. The next day in real life, I went to work and saw the guy I dreamed about the night before. I ran up to him and told him that I was happy to see he was alive. Of course, he was confused, so I told him about my dream. His face went pale. Turns out he had just bought a motorcycle the day before. I had no way of knowing that. Yep, he got rid of the bike.
I mean, because they didn't know each other.
They casually worked together, but they weren't friends. They weren't close at all. So for the writer to have a dream about him.
But enough to know, all right, you're not just coming up trying to freak me out. You actually genuinely.
Yeah.
Because that'd be the thing. If it was from some random person, it'd be freaky. But also you'd kind of be like, are you just going around trying to cause people a bunch of shit?
Distress, just fucking with them.
But
I
if
would
someone
take that,
you knew.
Oh my God. I would take it so real.
Came up to you and was like, here's what I saw.
It's giving Final Destination.
Yeah.
If someone came up to me tomorrow and was like, hey, you need to sell your car. I had the most realistic dream that your car, right after your warranty comes up, your tire falls off and you hit a semi-truck. I'd get rid of it tomorrow.
Well, but then then there's some moral dilemma too, because what if someone came up and said something about the horses?
Well, I know that's a risk I take every time I get on.
And then they're like, I saw this vividly on this exact blah, blah, blah.
I know.
What are you going to do? Get rid of the horses? I mean.
Might have to. I don't know.
It's kinda...
I know. It's really tough. It's crazy to think about. I mean, he sold his motorcycle.
Yeah. No, that's a good move for sure. That's more of an easy decision than these other things we're talking about.
There's another comment. I had a dream. I was screaming my brother's name and saying he had died. I was so anxious over the next few weeks, and I told my mom about the dream, and I was very emotional. I made a phone call and told my brother to be careful, and I loved him. My nephew, with the same name, was killed a few months after the dream. I've always felt some type of way for not thinking of him and warning him the way I warned my brother. It still fucks with me today and probably always will. To add, I feel like I was privy to something I didn't connect until it was too late.
We need to figure out this dream stuff. We really need to figure out dreams.
I mean,
are we tapping into something?
I think we are.
Is
I definitely think we are.
Alternate universe? Is it?
I think it's the energy being able to connect with us in a vulnerable state. What do you think it is?
I don't know. The problem with my brain is I'm so obsessively curious about everything that I could have a million different careers. I could have a million lifetimes and still not get bored of just diving into all these areas. I'd love to have one lifetime dedicated to researching dreams and really kind of trying to figure that whole world out.
I know.
I just get so curious.
Yeah, I am too. I'm really like chronically curious. And Alejandra and I talked about it on one of our paranormal episodes last year about visitation dreams and how we do believe it's those spirits trying to connect with us. Because I had one about my grandma right after she died. And I was like at her funeral and she like sat up from her coffin and she was like, I'm okay. Just know I'm okay. Or
just
you know,
that visual
something
alone
along
is a
those lines.
nightmare.
I woke up and I was so scared, but I was like, yeah, that was Grandma Ellen. And that was the only dream I ever had about her. And it was right after she passed. And just straight up.
No. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
That's no.
Don't let your kids go to open casket funerals when they're little. It will fuck them up.
Do the thing that people talk about where, you know, you come and you're sitting on the bed and I come sit next to you and it's like, hey, grandma, and then you can chat. Don't make me dream about you just, and then like all I picture with that are the horror films where it's like you sit up and then it's like,
oh my God,
like the
crazy
quick
head
turn,
twitch.
and then it's like the head starts turning.
It turns in a circle.
Like, no, if you want to come hang out,
yeah,
don't do that. I had so many bad dreams last night.
Dude, my dreams lately have been crazy.
Terrible dreams last night.
If you have any visitation dreams, please let us know in the comments. I read just about every comment on YouTube, so I would love to hear about other people's visitation dreams, especially if they're happy. There is one last comment I'll read on this post before we move along. In 1998, over a period of months, I experienced recurring flashes in my mind where I could see my wife's face looking to her left out of the driver's seat of our car, her face illuminated by oncoming headlights. I never mentioned it to her. She died in an accident with a tractor trailer that hit her driver's door at 35 miles per hour. The only thing different from my visions was that it occurred in the daytime. How do people know?
Oh, God. Well, and then it makes you wonder, do you try and prevent? Can you mess with fate? Can you mess with that? If that is fate, can you intervene, like with the sell the motorcycle? Because you can't have your wife not drive anywhere forever.
I know.
So, it just makes it, if I ever had this then, some vision like this, I'm going to tell you.
You have to.
But at the
Absolutely.
same time, if it's I don't know.
Okay, I lied. We're going to read one more comment. So someone else goes, yes, this is real. I've had it. At 9, I was plagued by dreams of my mom dying in the home for months before it actually happened. She would sometimes say it wasn't true, but as the months went by, she would just tell me, quote, I'm not scared. After it happened, I found a long letter she wrote to me years prior, saying that she was having the same thoughts and dreams about her own mortality. Someone commented, did she die from natural causes? OP, who posted that comment, said, she had a very sudden brain aneurysm rupture. Now we know it runs in my family.
Okay. Well, so with something like that, do you think there's something within, not energy-wise, but physically, that the
in our own brain,
that
subconscious,
the brain knows and could start to? I don't know why the daughter would see it.
That's
different.
thing,
but the
premonition.
mom then writing the note, I just wonder if there's some sort of signal or chemical created in the brain that almost, if looked into, could in some way, obviously I'm speaking, just totally I don't know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But then that could technically, I guess, predict an aneurysm or something, because they're totally unpredictable, right? They could just happen to us sitting here.
Aneurysms they're so wild.
Yeah.
They're so wild. My neighbor growing up had one, and my mom was the one that found her and got her to the hospital. She
oh, you can survive.
Yeah. So what happened is they had to life flight her down to the cities, but there's a couple different types of surgeries. But I believe what she had was a coil. They essentially put a coil in her brain to stop the bleeding.
How do we figure that shit out?
We're magic. Like humans.
I mean, we have a long way to go in terms of
magic.
like the figuring out the dreams and all this other stuff. But man, we've become, we've come up with some cool shit.
Yeah. Yep. So it's coiling, also called endovascular coiling, coil placement, or coil embolization. It's used to treat brain aneurysms.
Wow.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But yeah, saved her life. She was unwell. Absolutely unwell. She was really lucky to make that. But are we ready to move along?
Yeah.
Okay, this is coming from username addlocal3837. Ghostly guardian angel saves my life. So this happened back in 2000 and is absolutely true. My first wife and I were separated and going through a divorce. At this point in time, I was living alone in the marital home. One night, I went out drinking with a few friends and staggered home around 2 a.m. The house was empty, and being a little worse for wear, I turned on the TV, plonked myself down in an armchair, and lit a cigarette. I'm not sure how much time had passed. I must have dozed off, but all of a sudden, a loud, booming voice shouted into my right ear, "Wake up!" I literally leapt from the chair in a dazed panic and began looking around the room, searching for the source of the voice. That's when I felt the heat. While I had dozed in the armchair, the cigarette had slipped from my fingers and landed onto my chest, smoldering at my sweater until it finally began to catch fire. I immediately patted out the small flames and tore off the sweater before frantically searching every room in the house for whoever had woken me up. But the house was empty. No one was there but me. I eventually gave up my search and returned to the living room with my heart racing. The air was still filled with lingering smoke from my burnt clothing, and the extinguished cigarette lay on the floor next to my discarded sweater. I can still hear that booming voice to this day, and it still sends shivers down my spine. The way I described it doesn't do it justice. The words seem to start in a low, drawn-out rumble and build in volume and power until reaching a terrifying crescendo. Nevertheless, I dread to think what might have happened if the voice hadn't shouted in my ear and woken me up. I had always considered myself a level-headed skeptic up until that point in my life. Now I'm more open-minded to the possibility that there are things in this world that we shall never understand. As a footnote, I would also like to mention that my father had passed away from cancer a few months before this happened. I'm not saying that he was the one who potentially saved my life, but it's worth noting. My dad had been a sergeant in the Army for many years before he died, and although he never raised his voice to me, I was informed that he had been well respected and feared by his subordinates.
Wow. Don't you think you'd wake up, though, if your sweater was on fire?
I don't know. I think if...
Not to take away from the story, but just actually.
I mean...
Like if this started on fire and I'm passed out.
I don't think necessarily, no. There's people that sleep through dogs eating their faces off.
How?
There have been cases. Medications, alcohol. You can just be passed out. Seriously.
Through pain like that? Damn.
Yeah. So I was thinking about this. And I'm like, I've heard this before. So there's a woman named Wendy Hamriding who a dog chewed off a part of her face in an attempt to wake her up after she was knocked unconscious.
Okay, wait. So the dog wasn't attacking her. The dog was trying to... Okay, I don't know.
So she fell unconscious while drinking. She says the attack saved her life by stopping her alcoholism. So yeah, I mean, he said he had gone out, he was drinking, he was worse for wear. So yeah.
Okay. Well, regardless.
There's another woman, Isabel Denore. Dog mauled her face after she passed out from sleeping pills. I'm telling you.
What is going on?
This shit can happen. We got some dangerous substances out there.
That is bizarre. Okay, that's bizarre.
I mean, this episode is scary.
It's hard to imagine
scary, spooky.
when I take one step on the floor of our room, and you're like, oh, like waking up and shit. I don't. I've never known a sound sleeper, but
I used to be a sound sleeper. I don't know what happened.
Oh, it was great. Anyway, I think that it was just a culmination of a bunch of wild stuff, but I'm trying to hear that voice, and then the panic of running around the house trying to find someone.
Oh, I would too. 100%.
That's some scary shit.
I think this was a guardian angel. I do think there was a spirit, whether the writer's dad, but I do think some guardian angel stepped in. I mean, there's so many people out there that have stories about guardian angels.
I just wonder then why some other very preventable situations, there's not guardian angels that's come in. I mean, there's a curiosity again where why in this situation, like what connected that?
I mean, there goes the question of like, when is your time? And why is some people's time so much sooner than others?
And you don't think you can mess with when your time is?
I don't know.
I think you can definitely speed up your timeline, but then we're getting into the predetermined future thing again.
I know.
Because if your time is set and you can't influence that regardless, that helps the theory of the future is already pre-written.
I know. And I don't know where I stand on this, because I think there's some people that are truly doing such amazing, incredible things, and then their life is just over before they know it. And it's they're gone too soon. And I feel like everyone's just gone too soon, because I wish we all lived forever. But
no, especially our little babies.
I know, the little ponies. But I mean, we just had Liam Payne today. Like I can't believe he passed away today. And it's just like, what? I just feel like any death, I have a really hard time with it. So I don't know where I stand on fate and all this.
Right. Well, and that starts to, the phrase, oh, it was their time. Is that just then a tool of making the living feel, more at peace with that death?
I don't know.
It's just crazy.
I know. And it's like, I guess for me, because there is like another saying that goes along with that. Like, oh, they're in a better place. I hate when people say that shit, because are they? No. A better place is here with their family.
Yeah.
Like that's so unrelated, but I just hate that.
Well, I just think
don't say that to people.
I think that generally comes into play more when someone is suffering and every day of existence they're in crazy pain or something's going on. They're battling some illness.
But say at least they're not in pain.
Yeah.
But like,
no, I agree.
A better place is here, not in pain. Ideal world. But you know.
I know.
Tomato, maybe.
But this one reminds me of when my grandpa told me the story about my dad. And I don't know if I told that on this show, but it's where...
The sleepover?
Yeah.
You haven't talked about that.
I think it was my grandpa's sister. Her and her husband had 2 kids. And my grandpa and my grandma just had my dad. He was an only child, just like me. And they always hung out all the time, and the kids would hang out and play.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was one night where they were over at my grandpa's sister's place, and my dad just was begging to sleep over and have a sleepover with those other kids because they were going to be there the next day anyway. It's not like they were on a trip, but they were just, they live I don't know how far away. And my grandpa just had this feeling and wasn't feeling very well and just said, nope, you got to come home. We're all staying at home tonight. No sleepover tonight.
I know. And I remember him telling us this story somewhat recently, and he was like, I don't know what came over me, but I was very stern about it too.
Yeah. It was like
no.
There was no budging.
Yeah.
And then my grandpa, my grandma, and my dad went back over there the next day, and my grandpa found the 2 kids had died they were in a separate part of the house, or they're in a separate little cabin thing. It's blurry for me. I gotta have them refresh me, but they had carbon monoxide poisoning.
Mm-hmm.
and he went in and found the 2 kids, and that would have been my dad as
Yeah.
well.
And he tried
And
calling
then-
them too. He like tried calling them all morning because he like woke up or something. And he was like, I just had a bad feeling.
Yeah.
And I tried calling and no one was answering. So I went over there
Yeah.
and that's when he found everyone.
But then it gets crazy because then you're like, you hear this story,
Mm-hmm.
and well, if there's no my dad, then there's no me.
There's no you.
And it's just
Guardian
crazy.
angel. I
Crazy
don't know.
to think about.
And it's like, was that a premonition on your grandpa? Like, what was that? I don't know. It's crazy. Top comment on this one. The spirits are real. Next comment. I think it was your father. He will always be looking out for you. There's another comment. Wow. I'm so glad you're safe. Your experience is so valid and true. I can feel it resonate with me as I read your words. Similarly, I've heard that booming voice in my head, and it was who I think it was my brother, who had passed 5 months before. I'd stopped drinking on January 25th, and on February 14th or 15th in the early morning, my life was a wreck, like real bad, and I decided to drink again. I picked the bottle of wine up off the counter, and all of a sudden, a booming voice yelled my name and said, "Put the bottle down now and call your sponsor." I'm not shitting anyone on how real this was because it happened. The way my life was going at the time, I truly believe that if I hadn't listened to that voice, I probably wouldn't be here now.
See, that one is so, I mean, I'm starting to feel like this voice is something like you've never heard before. It's not like an internal monologue of yours waking yourself up out of instinct in a moment of danger, like with the fire. That's very much like, no, you're awake. You're making a conscious decision right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just, involuntarily.
I'm not the only one that messes up words on this podcast. Cheers. Ruin.
Well, that's just a mispronunciation. That's very different.
Mm.
Involuntarily
Mm-hmm.
get this message from somewhere.
Yeah.
In a booming, I feel like the booming voice sounds a little scary.
I wonder if it's because, like, think about if you were a ghost sitting there in this other realm that no one can hear you, no one can see you, you probably have to get so overly excited and loud for it to, like, broach. You know what I mean? So it's like you're probably back there behind the veil, like, why aren't you listening to me? Or, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just envisioning if I was a ghost. And so in order to, like, break that barrier, I feel like you would have to. That's why everyone has these same experiences. There's one more comment I'll read on this post before we move on, and it kind of leads into that. I'm sure it was your dad. I had a voice calling my name 3 times in a row, with each one louder and more forceful. 3 days before each of my parents passed away, 14 months apart. I felt like they were telling me to wake up and see what was happening. That's crazy.
So
to happen not once, but 3 times?
Yeah.
More forceful, louder every time.
So do you think if anyone else were in the room, it would just be silent?
I don't know.
Like, these aren't physically being shouted through the air. These are being communicated, but sound very loud to you in your own mind.
I don't know. I could see
like the tree falls in the forest kind of, thing.
I could see other people being able to hear it if there was someone else in the room.
But they wouldn't, because these people are always conveniently alone. Or is that when it's easiest to send the messages when they're alone?
Well, I think too, if you look at the times where these voices might have interacted with living people, this was a time of need for this person. They were on fire. Maybe they wouldn't have needed to be the booming voice if there were other people around. So it was such a dire situation where they had enough energy built up, like enough to like empower and create that energy, that disturbance. This is going to be such a goofy episode for people to listen to if they're big non-believers, because obviously what we've talked about a bit and like my takes just now, I'm like, to break the barrier and energy. I'm like, I get it. I sound goofy, maybe a little foo-foo.
I mean, the reality is I'm such a science nerd and freak. The more you dive into certain things, the more you realize that nobody knows.
Mm-hmm.
We have no idea.
Yeah.
We don't know. It's the best kept secret of all time is what happens when you die, what happens to energy. Is there more? Are there spirits saving us? Are there spirits haunting us?
Yeah.
Is it like, what is all this? And the dreams and the dream world, what are we connecting to? Nobody knows.
No.
So, I mean, you can say skeptic or a believer, and whatever it is, nobody really knows. And that's what makes it really fun.
I know.
Because it's like, what if? What if? And
I
what
know.
if the one thing I want to hold on to and that I would love so much is if somehow after this life you're able to observe and see what happens on Earth and with humans, because I'm going to die unsatisfied in the fact that I will not know, hopefully make it to Mars in my lifetime, but where we go as a species. Where do we spread out to? Do we make it to the next star? Do we find other life out there? Do we figure out what the real beginning and end of the universe are? Is it a multiverse? There's so many big, big things. And in the quantum realm, sorry, I could go all day. It's space physics talk, but
I know we got to start doing some unsupervised content again and get back into the space.
But that's what I have such a burning desire to know.
I know.
And a lot of that will not be sorted in my time here.
No.
So I want to know.
I know. Well, I will just say before we move along, I did reach out and message this person just to make sure that I could share their story. And they also provided more context that this happened in Sheffield, England, around autumn time. My father passed away in April that same year. So I think it's a beautiful thing to also just envision your family watching over you. And it's kind of crazy to think about. And I think about my dad passing all the time. And
well, him and I have a pact.
I know. And I do think he would be one to be that booming voice.
Just give me a sign, Jerry.
Not anytime soon, though.
No, of course not. But anyone I know, I don't want to see you go. But if you go, come on, show me, tell me. Because then to see that and be like, it's 100% it's that person.
I think we just got to start putting you on ghost tours.
Well, no, we don't need no bad ghosts around,
That's true.
Don't need that.
No.
Mm-mm.
We have been on tour doing live shows, and we've gone to a couple theaters, and every time I walk in, I'm like, any ghosts? Have you seen any ghosts? And every single person has said, yes, our theater has ghosts.
And then they're like, they're happy ghosts.
I know. Thank God. And to our very last story for this episode. But no fear, if you want more spooky, we are doing another full-length spooky episode for our Patreon fam.
We?
Yeah, I think it'll be me and you.
We.
Lauren doesn't do well with the spooky.
Well, here we go.
It's a favor for everyone and Lauren.
Okay,
so this last one is coming from Roos85, ROOS85. It is titled, I thought my boyfriend was the love of my life until I discovered he was drugging me at night.
No. Mm-mm.
Lately, I've been waking up still exhausted. Even if I went to bed early, I'd wake up feeling like I haven't slept in days. Trying to get out of bed for work was almost impossible, which was strange for me because I was always a high energy sort of person. A few hours of sleep and I was always good to go. I was at a loss as to what was happening. After a barrage of tests, even my doctor couldn't find anything wrong with me. The only recent change in my life was my boyfriend, who had moved in, and I was sharing a bed with for the first time in my life. Steven was the first love of my life, and this was my first serious relationship. I didn't want to spoil things by making him sleep in the spare room. I liked having Steven around. He made a real fuss over me, and he would bring me chamomile tea every night before bed. The pain in my hip was sharp and pulsated up to the right side of my body. I jumped from my bed and nearly collapsed to the floor as I struggled to get to the bathroom. "Steven, can you get in here?" I cried. A big, dark bruise covered my hip, as if I was assaulted in my sleep with a metal bar. "What's wrong?" Steven said as he came rushing into the bathroom. "Did I fall out of bed or something?" Steven had a weird expression on his face. I could swear he looked guilty about something. "Probably, I don't know." His response was dismissive, which sent my brain spiraling with all sorts of thoughts. "This is not normal, Steven. I think there's something wrong with me." "You should probably see a doctor then," he said coldly before quickly leaving the bathroom. My doctor was still at a loss and suggested I should see someone who could rule out anything nefarious. Steven was still dismissive of me as we drove to the hospital. "I'm sure it's nothing. You're probably just stressed about work." People don't wake up with bruises over stress, I angrily thought to myself. The doctor at the hospital took my blood and did all sorts of tests, including a stress test. I should have been happy when the test came back clear, but it only made me feel like I was losing my mind. Something was definitely wrong with me. "I would prescribe you sedatives, but your blood work shows you are already on nitrazepam," explained the doctor. I was dumbstruck and wasn't sure what the doctor was talking about. I've never taken so much as a painkiller in my life. The doctor's face looked like how I felt. He took out his charts and looked over them again. "No, you definitely tested positive for nitrazepam, which is a powerful sedative." Later that evening, as I sat in my bed, a million different thoughts ran through my head. How was that even possible? I thought to myself. As I sat there, Steven walked in with my chamomile tea. And just as I was about to put it to my lips, I was struck by the most unnerving thought. The realization that my boyfriend was drugging me hit me like a ton of bricks and filled me with dread that I had never felt before. I emptied the contents of the cup down the sink in the bathroom before jumping back into bed. "Was it hot enough for you?" asked Steven as he jumped into bed beside me. "Perfect, as always." I felt as if I was lying beside a complete stranger. Had I ever really known him? I thought to myself. As I lay there terrified, he was doing unimaginable things to me all while I slept. I must have drifted off at some stage because when I woke up, the room was a mess and Steven was nowhere to be seen. My body ached all over and it felt like I was in a fight. What the hell was he doing to me in my sleep? I thought. I'd made the decision to go to the police, but I needed evidence or it was just my word against his. I'd purchased a hidden camera and set it up in the bedroom, pointing towards the bed. I woke up exhausted as usual, which unfortunately meant he had done something to me while I slept, but I had it on camera. I opened my laptop to check the footage. For the first couple hours of sleep, nothing happened. For a moment, I had hoped I was imagining everything until I watched myself jolt from the bed. At first, I couldn't believe what I was doing. It felt like I was watching a horror movie as I watched myself crawl up the bedroom wall like some possessed demon. I continued to crawl up the wall, onto the ceiling, looking down over Steven like I was ready to pounce on him. Steven woke, and it was strange watching him because it was like he was prepared for what was happening and didn't seem fazed by it. He took a stick out from under the bed as I pounced from the ceiling above, and he spent the next hour fighting me off. I watched as he subdued me onto the bed before pulling out handcuffs and cuffing me to the bed. I looked at the marks on my wrists, which made sense now. As soon as Steven came home from work, I ran and threw my arms around him. Quote, "Why didn't you tell me what you were going through every night?" Steven shrugged his shoulders. "I thought you knew. And usually the drugs I was giving you made things a little easier. Why are you even still with me?" "Well, my last girlfriend was a jealous psychopath. You're a walk in the park compared to her." And that's on Spooky Paranormal. Bye.
Now I'm going to be the skeptic, okay? Ain't nobody crawling up the wall. Nobody's going on the ceiling. And nobody's taking out a stick every night. Okay? And like trying to fly swat the fly back into bed.
Okay. Okay. Let me be a bit of a devil's advocate because I'm sure we're all giggling at
Let's go for it.
that end cap here.
Yeah.
There was a man that climbed up the building in Chicago without any contraptions like fucking Spider-Man.
Yeah, there's good climbers. He had suction cups.
No, he didn't. No. I'm Googling what building it was. Oh God, what is this big ass word? Accenture Tower. It's in the West Loop. It was all caught on camera. And he's got little chalk bags.
Yeah, I mean, there's some amazing climbers out there.
Yeah, this is a good climber. This
But
guy,
they ain't climbing the drywall. Okay?
this guy looks like he is that one free solo motherfucker just climbing with nothing.
Yeah.
That guy's crazy too.
They're wild, yeah.
Crazy. But I do think there are people that report possessions all the time.
That's fine. That's fine. It's all fine and dandy.
Super fine.
That's fine.
Just fine.
But this is where you pushed me over the limit, okay? The story was really good until the climb with the wall part. Really good. You know? I was tracking. I was getting into it. And I was about to say, how scary is it that you can start dating someone? And this is the crazy shit about dating. You meet someone random, unless you meet, more of a warm welcome through friends or whatever it is. But you meet someone and you don't know who the hell they are. You don't know a damn thing about them. And what I've seen from movies and everything else, people are amazing actors. Amazing. You could meet someone, date them for 1, 2, 3, 4 months, get really comfortable, start to fall in love, start staying over, and you have no idea who you're sleeping next to.
No, I don't think you know. I don't think you ever truly know. It's a gamble.
People flip. All of a sudden, people get married and they're totally different people the next day.
We just had, oh my God, we literally just had this on Father Knows. The past 2 episodes of Father Knows have been insane. But we just had a listener write in. Her husband fought for her, like worked his ass off to get her and really loved her and cherished her. And the minute that he signed the marriage license, everything flipped. Everything flipped.
I don't get that.
Everything. And then we had another write-in where this woman was talking about how her husband was so amazing. They just recently had twins and he despises the babies. Says, oh my God, this one comment haunts me. He says, you're teaching the babies to rely on you too much.
Always the babies. Yeah.
The babies.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, this is how shaken baby syndrome happens. But like, I'm just like, I don't think you ever truly know who you're married to. I don't know. I don't know. No matter how much I love you, I'll never truly know you. I'm not in your little brain.
You know me pretty damn well. I will say that. It scares me sometimes. Because we do that thing where you talk and it's like we don't have to finish each other's sentences kind of thing.
Finish each other's sandwiches.
That's what this story was leading me down that path of, it's kind of, again, never get too comfortable, never feel too safe.
No.
Always have your guard up at some level because you have to protect yourself.
For sure.
And it's just so scary to think you could get close with someone. They could move in. They could start putting stuff in your drinks or your food.
Slugs.
And
Slugs was real.
And you'd have no
slugs
idea. But this one is just a little more creepy and dark, where you're putting it in tea before you go to sleep and it's a sedative, and that leads down a whole just
no. We had a real story like this too. A guy before road trips was drugging his girlfriend's drinks and was putting enormous amounts of sedatives or Benadryl or something in the person's drinks. It's not far off.
It's like Get Out.
Okay. And what do you think about this? This is coming from the BBC News, okay? I'm looking at the website.
Oh, yeah.
BBC News. It is from January 29th, 2014. Police captain confirms children possessed by demons. A U.S. police captain says he believed a story about a woman who claimed her children were possessed by demons. LaToya Amons from Indiana said her 3 children walked up walls, levitated, and spoke in voices. Official reports filed in 2012 backed up her claims, with psychologists stating that they saw the 9-year-old child speak in different deep voices and walk up the wall backwards. That is a quote from a psychologist report. Quote, up the wall backwards. Quote, he flipped over and landed on his feet, they added. Gary Police Captain Charles Austin, who has more than 35 years of experience, said he has been convinced by the story. According to a local newspaper, the Indianapolis Star, he described himself as a believer after visiting the house and interviewing Miss Amons and her family. Growling noises.
Can we go meet them?
No, but let's see what happens. Official Indiana state documents detail more events apparently witnessed by medical experts and those outside of the family. The children's names were removed from the papers to protect their identities. Quote, medical staff reported they observed the children and heard the 7-year-old making growling noises and his eyes rolled into the back of his head. Quote, they observed blank name lifted and thrown into the wall with nobody touching him. The report also detailed the time when the 7-year-old, quote, walked up the wall in front of a number of medical professionals. Quote, name blank began to have a weird smile on his face, and he charged at the grandmother's stomach and headbutted her several times until she grabbed his hands and started praying. He was speaking in a different deep voice, saying, quote, it's time to die. I will kill you, and staring around the room. He had a weird grin on his face and began to walk backwards while the grandmother was holding his hands, and he walked up the wall backwards while holding the grandmother's hands, and he never let go. Quote, he flipped over and landed on his feet in front of the grandmother and sat down in the chair. It goes on. At other times, Miss Amon said she saw her daughter levitate out of her bed, while the 12-year-old also reported being, quote, thrown across the room and grabbed by dark shadows. Elsewhere in the reports, it shows that an unnamed witness has suggested the mother may have mental health concerns. They also said it may be that the, quote, children are performing for the mother and that she's encouraging the behavior.
Was this at a time before cell phones or recording equipment? If you caught wind of this...
I mean, this was 2012.
Okay, 2012. So if you caught wind of this as a medical professional or a police chief, are you not going in there with a fucking camera? Pre-AI. If there's a video from pre-AI that shows... I want to see this damn thing.
I mean, there are videos of people being possessed and having exorcisms performed on them.
There's also really great actors in movies that play that role very well too, and CGI completes the icing, icing.
But what
on
if
the
it's
cake.
like from the 1900s? Early 1900s. Because 1900s could be 1999 as well.
Just pre-AI, pre-crazy CGI. Like, come on.
Okay.
Capture it. What are we
it's
doing?
out there. I'm sure it's out there. We can do a little research.
I want to see these acrobatics.
So the 3 children were removed from the family home by authorities after the reports were filed. According to the Indianapolis Star, the day after the children were taken from the Amons, the hospital chaplain called on Reverend Mike Magano, to carry out an exorcism on the children and their mother. Quote, whenever you praise God in Latin, no reaction, he said. Quote, but you start condemning the demon, condemning the evil spirit, and all of a sudden, she, the child, is reacting to that. The children were returned 6 months later when the problems subsided. There are now new tenants on the property, and the landlord has not received any further reports of demonic possession.
Do you think you have to disclose that when you rent to new tenants?
I mean, technically...
Or do you think it's like, thanks for signing the lease, best of luck?
I don't think you have to disclose. No.
Hey, there's been crazy fucking paranormal possessed activity here.
I mean, the rules, laws...
Because you'd never rent it again.
Yeah, and the laws are very short term. Like, even in California, you only have to disclose someone dying in the home if you're selling it, and it's only for a couple of years. Like our house, they didn't disclose someone died in our house. We found out because of the people we bought it from.
Long time ago.
Exactly.
I
so
mean,
there's
unless
statute
it's
of
a new
limitations.
build,
And
chances are someone's died in your house. Come on.
True. But you rented a murder house, double homicide. The rental company didn't have to tell you.
A bludgeoning.
So bad.
Really bad.
So bad. So I think there's certain laws, and
a brutal.
If they don't even tell you
house.
about death, I don't think they're going to tell you about the demons.
That's true.
Like, there's no way.
God. And you just unknowingly, yes, this place will be perfect for me and my family.
So, yeah, I mean, you got to be careful moving into places. This is crazy. So given this real story, the last one we read, yeah, we giggled at it, but it doesn't seem so crazy now, does it? It happened in our own backyard of Indiana.
Listen here. Listen.
I'm stressed.
It's a little outside the bounds of my, skepticism. All right? It's getting out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to know which are real and not real, look in the description. If you want to know now, I'll tell you. But for those that don't want to know, goodbye. Thank you for joining us on another episode of Two Hot Takes. Please head over to Patreon. We have way more spooky stuff, more free content. October's free bonus story was nuts. I'm just shocked that there's people out there like that. And we've got some live show content hitting Patreon. It's going to be a good time over there.
Yep.
Other than that, we only have 5 or 6 shows left of tour. Our next stop is Atlanta, Georgia. We heard you guys. You were telling us you wanted to come, and we are so, so excited to see you.
We're coming.
I know. I feel like I'm going to do a Keith Lee food tour while I'm there. So send me your Atlanta recs, but really, really excited for the next stint of live shows. But other than that, for those that don't want to know the truth, goodbye. Until next time.
Until next time.
So every single story I read up until the very last one was real. The very last one was coming from r/no sleep, which is a subreddit meant for more of the creative writing horror stories.
Oh yeah, it was creative for sure.
Yeah, I know the giggles. We couldn't contain it. But I mean, there are real life experiences. You know what I mean? So are you a believer? Are you not a believer? Head to Spotify.
If you're on the fence, let's get in the bus.
I know.
Let's go to that bridge.
No.
Let's make it reality.
No, thank you. But I will be putting a poll on Spotify and YouTube. Head over there. I want to see how many believers we have versus non-believers.
And but there's people in the middle.
Well, polls, we might be able to select 3 options on both platforms. We'll see.
Yeah.
But thank you guys so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed this spooky episode. And if you want more and don't want to go to Patreon, we are also doing a full spooky episode or 2, we'll see, on Father Knows Something.
All listener write-ins.
All listener write-ins, all real experiences. So it's going to be really, really good.
There's some crazy shit.
I know. And we have some evidence as well. So head over there. But thank you guys so much for joining us. Bye.
Bye.